Testing. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here for our arts forum. I can't remember how many it's been, but we're kind of chomping away at having these arts forums. Our arts forum is a time where we look at social justice through the arts. And this morning we have Sarah Sudhoff with us, and she's going to talk about about gun violence and how she uses art to explore issues with gun violence. And so without further ado, Sarah Sudhoff.
Thanks so much. Apologize for being a little late. I had to go to yoga this morning before talking about gun violence. it's my self-care. And then we had some technical difficulties because I have an old Mac and not a new one. But anyway, just wanted to say thanks. Hi. Thanks for inviting me to speak today. And a lot of the work that you're going to see today, it was actually made for the event that was held here April 15th. And it's really, I always find it really interesting how, as an artist, your project evolves, at least for me, when you have a really tight deadline and a really interesting prompt. And so that was sort of the occasion that presented itself with the event on April 15th. I made work specifically for that event, and now it has evolved into even more pieces. And I am now happy to say I have 3 solo shows in the next 12 months. Tennessee, North Carolina, and Austin, based off the work that you're going to see today. The work that is part of this ongoing project, Not a Drill, has not been exhibited yet, except here. It is not even on my website. That's how new it is. And it is very much in progress and in flux as I engage in more opportunities, more conversations, and sadly, as the gun violence continues, not only in Texas, but around the country. So a little bit about me. I'm a Cuban-American interdisciplinary artist. I interweave themes of art, science, and technology. I deconstruct narratives to gain clarity and create immersive spaces for discovery through photographs, video, installation, and sound. For the past 15 years, my work has been influenced by my professional background as a photojournalist, which has allowed me to systemize my curious nature while maintaining a personal and ethical obligation to any given subject area. All of my works are, in some way, socially engaged and inherently participatory. The way these methods and materials are utilized vary from project to project and take advantage of the media, site, and participants involved. My works can be categorized into one or more of the following 3 areas of concern: ethics of care, social practice, and data visualization. By using creative practice as a mediator between subjective and objective experiences, I engage in conversations that address bodies and communities as shared and ultimately distinct. Not a Drill, which you're going to see work in progress, explores through screen printed and laser cut textiles, performance, and photography our increased exposure to gun violence and lack of measurable gun reform in the United States. How's that looking? Okay. This piece called Ribbon Wars was actually part of a different project that I created last May for an exhibition in San Antonio, which I was invited to participate in for military veterans or families of military. And I grew up in a very dominant military family. Even my grandmother was in the Navy. And this work explored sort of my ongoing love-hate, bittersweet relationship to the military. But it was taken to, I'm going to start crying, but it was taken 2 weeks before Uvalde. And this is my daughter in front of her school in my dress, wearing ribbons that mimicked my father's military ribbons. And this work went up in San Antonio, and then I was in North Carolina at a residency. And then Uvalde, I found out, I walked into the studio, someone told me what had happened, that there was a shooting in Texas. I said, what city? They told me Uvalde. I took a breath, and then I said, okay, let me learn more. And then I booked a plane ticket home to see my children. My residency last summer in North Carolina was not meant to involve anything related to gun violence. I was working on other very difficult topics that were personal to me, such as domestic abuse. And after what had happened last year on May 24th and every other event preceding that, and this also July 4th, I flew to Chicago to pick up my children and flew in to the town where the July 4th parade shooting had happened. And I thought, then and there, I must make work. So this was the first piece I made, and if you can see, it's kind of hard to see here because it's displayed on the floor. Like I said, most of this work has never been displayed yet or exhibited. It's called War Games, and it is the gun cap ammo ring that you would put in a play gun or fake gun and shoot. And I laser cut that pattern over and over into red and black felt that might be used in a school. Or, you know, crafts and things like that. I was thinking about materials that might be present when I was very beginning to think about how could I make a project about such a difficult topic and specific to me, even though I hadn't gone through it, but I have 2 children that are 9 and 11. How could I relate it to what I was feeling, but also this personal experience of my 2 children going to school every day? And so I started thinking about materials, and in this case, I used the red and black school felt. I didn't make anything else. That was the only thing I sort of made gun violence relate. Oh, sorry, there's one other piece I'll show you in a second. But in January, I was invited to go to Penland. I got to go back to North Carolina and make work. And I knew, sorry, I keep crying, but I knew I wanted to continue this topic. And so I started making work again, and these are screen prints, and the hideout keep out is on, it's on tarlatan, which actually they use to clean up ink in the screen printing or in the print studio. And I was experimenting with transferring images and text onto different materials. So tarlatan, chiffon is the black, and then the felt again. And so the hideout keep out is language that's used in K through 12 lockdown drills. The abstract pattern on the black chiffon is actually taken from the K through 12 gun violence database, and that is shootings from when they started collecting data through 2022, and then it's been mirrored. So it creates this almost gun-like shape. And then the red felt are the patterns from Robb Elementary, both the shooter's motion and the police motion. And that one's called Measured in Action, because at any point it could have changed, but it didn't. These are some in progress shots. Like I said, this is still all very much work in progress. And so the hideout keep out, because of the tarlatan material, ink goes straight through it, and so there's a set of screen prints on paper that mimic or mirror the tarlatan as well. And so you can see the paper down, and then you can see the tarlatan hanging to dry. And then on the right, a lot of this work, because it's so new, I'm trying to experiment with materials and how it best can encapsulate what I'm wanting it to say, and then what is the right material. So I'm still in the process of trying the same idea out in different mediums and in different processes and things like that. So the image on the right is those same arrows that you saw before on the red felt, and the HR 7910 is a bill that was introduced into Congress after Uvalde. The left is also black chiffon, as is the right. The left was the other piece that I made at McCall last summer with that gun cap ammo, again, trying to figure out what's the right material for that pattern. And so when I made it, I was learning to screen print and felt it was unsuccessful, but I could see that there was a flag coming. I didn't know what it would look like, but already I knew. Which you will see the flags I've made since. And then the right is that pattern again from the K through 12 gun violence database mirrored, and there's 2 layers of it. Again, experimenting with materials. Is it something that's solid, opaque, transparent? Is it chiffon, like a black veil or a mourning veil? Is it the felt? Is it all of it? I don't know yet, but I have to figure it out for August. This was another piece that I made during that residency this past January, thinking about the language and the drills that my children are going through, and thinking this is a drill, and then one day it's not a drill. And so I screen printed on black and white paper with silver ink. And then the right is actually the screen. If you've never seen a screen printing screen, the emulsion comes in different colors. And you spray this chemical on it to make it drip and remove the emulsion, and so you can reuse it. And I'm hoping to do a performance. It may be this text, it may be other text, where you actually watch me dissolve the image on the screen. Because when I was dissolving it here, I thought, oh, that's really profound, it's really beautiful. And so I have I won't show you, but I have a short video of it, of me washing it, just so I could remind myself to redo this in a intentional capacity. These are some of the bills that were introduced to the House of Representatives and the Senate related to gun violence. And again, that 7910 is the one after Uvalde. And these are all other gun violence laws, protect our children, ban assault weapons that have been introduced, and yet none of them have passed. And so it's still a work in progress, but I screen printed onto different types of Mylar tissue because I wanted to be able to tack the numbers up like ballots that are, sadly very flimsy. And when you screen print onto this material, it like bubbles up and you have sort of a texture, which I thought was really nice. Again, experimenting with how to present this information in a tactile way for an audience. And then we arrive to what I did for here in April. Again, so that was January to February. I didn't make anything again. And then when I came to the church, let's see if it'll play. I don't know if it'll play. Oh, you can't really hear. Sorry, it's not plugged in for sound, but. So when I came here to do a site visit, I looked at the interior sanctuary, I looked outside, and I thought, what can I make that can be in all spaces? What can be outside, what can be inside, and what can be part of a performance? And so I started researching, and I'd been wanting to do something with emergency blankets, or the emergency blanket material. I'd photographed my children actually during COVID with an emergency blanket, but never did anything with the image, and then found that these came in red. And I know gun violence color is orange, but I don't like orange. So there's some aesthetic decisions here. But I was like, I just can't make work with orange, even though I went to UT. But anyway, and at the time, I was also sharing with my students Felix Gonzalez Torres's NRA piece, which, if you're not familiar with his work, he would do these like very minimal abstract paper pieces that the audience could come and take from an exhibition. And I realized that he had a red NRA piece, and this event that we did at the church, I'm already saying we, because I belong here, obviously. And I was like, oh, I could do something NRA related because the event corresponded or coincided with the NRA event. I was like, okay, I'm going to do something that references Felix Gonzalez Torres's piece. If you haven't seen that piece, just type in Felix Gonzalez Torres NRA. And these large red paper square rectangles that you could carry out of the gallery. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I can put stars on a Mylar flag. And successfully, I was able to successfully do that. So they hung outside, they were hung in the sanctuary, and I also did a flag folding ceremony, which I don't have images yet. I just got footage yesterday of that. But those of you that were here that day saw me fold flags as if they were, as if we were participating in a military funeral, and folding them into the triangles as best we could, because they're not actually real flags. But so that was a wonderful experience for me to put these outside, to lay them over the pews as if they were coffins, and then also to fold the flags as if it was a military funeral. Again, kind of pulling in my military background and experience, but also honoring the dead in a way that maybe others hadn't considered yet. I mean, it's come up more in conversation now that our children are going to school as if they were soldiers, and why aren't we giving them, pay, hazard pay, essentially, like my father was given. These are the flags shot on site here after I took them down. And I'm getting ready to rephotograph them today and tomorrow, but they are very weathered. They have holes and they ripped in half. And when I saw them, the surface texture is also more muted now, so they're not quite as shiny, and they feel kind of more fragile and skin-like. And so they became this beautiful object that I never anticipated. So I was so happy to have this experience, and now I just want to install them everywhere and then take them down and have them live as a relic of time, of place. And so these, weathered and torn, hopefully I'll have more of them, and this one will be labeled here, this site, and then other sites, weathered and torn Uvalde, or weathered and torn, like the North Carolina exhibition, we might be doing this there, and so it would be labeled North Carolina, wherever the site is. Anyway, so that was a really pleasant surprise. And then I started photographing my children with the flags and wrapping them. So this is my daughter. She tends to be the better model. Don't tell my son. So I asked them both to play with the flags. Is that looking? Yeah, it's okay. To play with the flags, and I just kind of let them do whatever they wanted, and then would ask them occasionally to hold a pose. And so this is 3 separate images that I put together as this triptych. But really love the movement and the play, but also the protection, or lack thereof, of protection, because it's, a thin piece of plastic, essentially. There's my son. And these 2 images are actually going to be in an exhibition this summer at the Houston Center for Photography, and it opens June 23rd. I won't make the opening. I'll be away, but if you're in town, I think it's up through the summer. So the triptych and then this one. And then these are a few other images from that project. I'm still editing. Okay. And then I think this is the last image, actually. So the other works were called Flesh and Blood, thinking about my children. I also was raised Catholic, although I don't practice anymore, but there's, in a lot of my projects, there's a nod to that upbringing as well. And then I was curious, because these flags have taught me so much. What else could they show me? And I tried to remove the stars with a solvent, and it was the red that ran off. Yeah, and so this is currently sitting in my garage. This was taken in my garage, and I'm planning to do more of them. I'm gonna try and strip it all the way down. I'm going to put up a new flag, photograph it, spray it, and try and strip it all the way to silver. So we'll see what happens. But this is what's coming. And it's still, I went in there yesterday, and it's still damp. So I would have loved to actually exhibit the flags in whatever state they are, but I don't know how to do that yet, because I'm going to have to spray them with something to preserve them so that the red doesn't get on everyone that installs it. Or maybe that's part of it. I don't know yet. So again, it's been just such a pleasure to work with you all and have this opportunity, and to see how the project evolves. So thank you.
Sarah, thank you so much for sharing what is just a touching experience, reminding us that this lives with us. The results of gun violence live with us continually, and your work just is, and the experiences that you're having as you're going through the process is so telling, right? And so reflective of that same process that we each go through. So we appreciate you and thank you for being with us today and sharing with us. Thank you all for being here. If you have questions for Sarah, can we take it over into the Channing Hall, which is right through these doors, and then we'll see some of you back for service in a few minutes. Thank you.